Hello and welcome to Untitled Anarchist Seagull Channel's Friday night stream, where we're roughly on time, which is nice. I don't always manage that, but sometimes I do, and I'd like to call attention to it when it happens. Normal sloppy service will no doubt be resumed soon. Hello, Mask. How are you doing? Oh, you're over on YouTube this time. Well, let's see. Oh, wait, I have to change audio output before I blast people's eardrums out with background music. I have to have it on. I have to have it on higher when I'm doing my Duolingo stream, so people can actually hear what Duolingo's saying. Oh, I'm not bad. Just a sort of general level of frustration, stress, and pissed offedness as always. Where brought to a head today by an article that Twitter recommended to me, in Wired, about the mystery of how some people don't get COVID. And it's like, wow, that's right up there with the mystery of how some people get into collisions and they don't fly through the windscreen and instead are still attached to their seats when the dust settles. I mean, some people are saying, these seatbelt maximizer people are saying that maybe it's something to do with these weird little belts that are tied to their fucking seats. But I don't know. I mean, I think we need to wait for an official pronouncement of the federal government on this first. I mean, this is not the time to be deserting the immortal science of Trump-Biden thought. It has guided us through this pandemic with only the most cases and the most deaths of any country on the planet, and that's by official numbers that are known to be a massive understatement. So, I mean, maybe the mystery isn't why some people aren't getting it, particularly in countries where people are actually taking precautions, but why it's still being treated as a mystery when we've known for 2 fucking years how to do that, how to stay safe. Christ's balls, what a shit show. But two things that weren't shit shows today. Since you asked the extremely generally worded question that I'm going to take as an excuse to have a very long monologue that will probably ramble on more than I intend. Thought Slime's got a great video that introduces it's another of these cringe corner videos introducing a turf baroness, and it's great because it's an introduction to what we have had to sit through in Britain for years, because I've been here kind of since the ground floor of this wave of astroturfing. I mean, I buggered all. I was there when these groups that are now treated by the entire British media as the voice of British women were still like anonymous blogs whose owners nobody was aware of, and and then I sort of buggered off when it really started to kick off. But you get introduced to this Baroness, I forget her fucking name, Nicholson. Baroness Nicholson of Winterbourne. Uh, and you get a real feel for why Britain is the way that it is. Also, Non-Compete's got a great one on the patriotic American socialists. Well, the Nazbol ghouls. And also my music video's up, but you already know that, but maybe other people, there are 2 people watching right now apparently, and one of them might not know. So that's for them. And with that, let's get some Geoguessr going. Let's geoguess something. Where the fuck is the Geoguessr window? There's the Geoguessr window. Now I need to shrink it a little bit because I can't actually see chat at this size. Okay. How's it looking in crop? Butte balls. Okay, that looks okay. I hear you got a nurse's strike up your way. Okay, I immediately am thinking. Let me see. Yeah, this is North America. Those number plates are too narrow to be Britain. Shooting parking. US style fire hydrant as well. No, libertarian socialist is actually a term that refers to anarcho communists. Oh, okay. I haven't heard a thing. It's interesting. I mean, as plugged in as I am, I thought I would. I'm surprised that I haven't heard anything about. That I hadn't actually heard anything about the new W path coming out. But so libertarian socialist. One thing you have to understand about the word libertarian is that it was appropriated by a fucking real estate lobbyist by the name of Murray Rothbard in the mid 20th century. He actually brags about having managed to nick the word off of anarchists. But outside of the US, it still means the same thing it always has, which is to say, like an anarcho communist. So libertarian socialists was a term of like self-identification, for example, of a lot of the people who fought with the militias, the milicianos in the Spanish Civil War. Now, Vosh calls himself that. The thing is, he doesn't know what any of those things mean, and his economic views more or less fit into the area of well, he get like for example, he gets his definition of fascism from von Mises. Speaking of reactionaries and Nazbols, American Virtual is somebody that was trying to recommend that I read, endorsing some like crypto fash writer on in my comments, and I thought I'd already blocked them. Yeah, I mean, but it's basically for as long as the term's been a thing, it has UCF. Is that University of California, Fresno? See, I'm not even sure. Okay. Fun fact: Lenin was a populist. I'm not actually sure where we're even going with that. Okay. Buret Honors College or Buret. Ah, okay. University of Central Florida. Okay. So, let's find the center of Florida and find a university in it. Okay, I was just kind of guessing because I couldn't think of a single uh a single other F city name that could have been in California, so I thought, okay, it's got to be Fresno. Yeah, yeah, that was just a random guess because I figured UC University of California at F, and all I had was Fresno. So, okay, University of Central Florida. Where's that at? Frostproof. The author named himself Cryptofash, ironically, except he's actually Cryptofash. I read his shit. That I mean, it's just reaction. It's just a bunch of far right bullshit trying to weasel its way into left spaces. I was totally unimpressed with that crap. Okay, where the hell is Mercedes? Oh. Oh. Oh, the Orlando area. Okay. That simplifies things for me. Valencia College. Oh. Okay. It looks like the main campus. I mean, seems fairly comprehensive anyway. Okay. Oh, well, hello, Femme Dracula. Loving the new name. Like the new hat, too. Okay, University of Central Florida, someplace in... Okay, Orlando International Airport. And, you're taking the piss, W007, oh boy, right? You're fucking, that's you doing a bit, because if that's not you doing a bit, that's you saying the last thing you're gonna say in here. Because I don't tolerate that transphobic shit, and I certainly don't tolerate people standing fash. Ah, Christ's balls. Where is? Okay, that's a relief. Yeah, I just have to check because I've had a couple of dodgy people show up in my comments lately. I mean, every once in a while they do. I seem to, but yes, okay. Meanwhile, my sister has translation-related issues. What is RBN? Oh God, yeah. I'm not surprised that he said that. Sorry for making possible assumptions. I just because I do remember you now. I remember you saying sound things last time you were in here, but I don't know. I just had so much dodgy shit going on. Uh, Dodgy people seem to have found me. Okay. Meanwhile, advertising rocks. No, it fucking doesn't. Unless, of course, you're just saying that you are advertising rocks. Which, I mean, that's cool. Rocks get bad press. They don't get anywhere near as much buzz generated as they deserve. I mean, they're fucking rocks. Okay. Someplace in Orlando. Yeah. How have I received 100 messages today with Restream Chat? Restream IO just congratulated me for this, but there's no way I got that many messages. 49.35, 20 kilometers off. Thanks to people more familiar with the University of Florida system than I am. Okay, we're someplace that could be any place. Okay. Earlier today, no. Normally I would have. Uh. Okay. No, I didn't stream earlier today because I have this huge, really boring translation that I need to finish off, and I just haven't had time. So, but I'm probably going to be streaming on the language channel after this. Yeah, it sounds sus as fuck. I mean, I'm guessing because there's some people who like will use Fred Hampton's name. No, but his mates are certainly not gone. Okay, what have we got here? Neretas Pagasts. Okay, we are in Lithuania or Latvia. Oh, state university. Well, I mean, okay. There's just so much sus shit going on, so I wasn't sure as SUS. Yeah. Did they realize that they were naming their state university system sus? But then around here, there's a urology practice called the Urology Group, and nobody gave any thought to how that acronym's out. Yeah, I mean, some people, particularly in the Nazbol orbit, try to claim that Fred Hampton uh, didn't have a problem with allying with white supremacists because they were, like, he was tight with the Young Patriots, while leaving out the fact that actually it was through their work with the fucking the Panthers that they realized. See, the Young Patriots, were just using that for the fucking shock value in the first place, and were already covering it up anytime they did anything in the black community. And through their work with the Panthers, came to the conclusion that the flag should not exist anywhere. But they kind of leave that out. Okay. Yeah, so much shit going on. At the same time, my sister's telling me about a need for translations in my younger niece's school class because there are kids who come from families that where English apparently isn't the major language, and right now they're using fucking garble translate to send the school letters home, and the result of it is I mean, they don't know what the fuck it says because who knows what they're doing there. So she's asking if I might possibly help out. Smelteni. Yeah, okay. That maybe that's the name of the stop? I don't know. It isn't familiar. But the place names do have sort of a Lithuania, Latvia. The way they throw those S is on the end apropos of nothing, which is a very Lithuanian Latvian thing. Interesting languages, those two. Okay, Lithlat. I'll just stick it on the border here. 150 kilometers. Not too bad, considering that I made very little effort. Thanks to me. Oh, wow. I mean, I was doing some amazing organizing shit before I was born. What happened? Apparently, well, I mean, even even before that, according to them, they were doing it they had initially thought of just using an American flag, and Non-Compete's video actually covers this. But they decided that wasn't going to be a conversation starter, and they were trying to use the fucking Confederate flag, Englewood Pirates Randy Penn Stadium. It's a Penn Stadium, but Randy. Um, as a way of starting conversations or something like that because of the rebel thing. And then they came to the conclusion, in large part, thanks to the. So they were already kind of less than. Okay, we've gone from UCF to SCF. So, and then through their work with their Panthers, their ambivalence about it. Okay, those look like, yep, those are U.S. Mailboxes. We're back in the U.S. That's. Oh yeah. Oh, it was good. There's a whole. I don't know if somebody's bookmarked that part of it, but there's a whole thing. He's got quotes from the like one of the founders of the Young Patriots on it. Clarkson. 소리 맞추오 설리만 나를 벼는 내 조국 백화가 만바다였네. Clarkson and another street, and then there's a church with the word fellowship in the name. Everything's remarkably sluggish. Yeah, Clarkson and Jefferson, and there was a sign, something to do with Englewood. Not Inglewood, but Englewood. It was a good video. It's kind of heavy on Lenin quotes for my taste. But on the other hand, as a way of showing just how completely this Pat Suck mob have departed from the Marxism-Leninism they claim to be connected to, it's not necessarily a bad approach. Oh, weird. We've gone from when this was finished to when it was just being built. Neat. Craig, staff parking. That's where Craig's staff live. Park. Well, Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute. Yeah, it is. I mean, especially considering that the kind of ML, they're like the MLs who will say, Well, ML, Marxism Leninism's good except for Stalin. And then you have these people, and their whole thing is Marxism Leninism is good except for Lenin, Khrushchev, Brezhnev, Andropov, fucking. God, what are the other ones? Yeah, well, I mean, Gorbachev, obviously. Well, yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's internally consistent, but I can see how you would try to. I can like have a little bit more sympathy for that approach anyway, and it certainly exists. Well, that comes out of nowhere. I mean, I think part of the trouble is the people that has come from. I mean, the what is that Swedish medical center? Okay, and oh, we got an 800 number. That's fucking useless. The Englewood trolley. Wow, it just occurred to me that an undead femme is a vamp, and that's kind of perfect. Femme Dracula is a vamp. Okay. Oh, Swedish Medical Center is Seattle. I was thrown off by the sun. I didn't. I've never seen the sun in Seattle. Greenwood, Wedgwood, Echo Lake, Linwood, lots of wood. Da-dee-da. See, that's my mistake because the only time I've ever been there was in. It would have been in November, I think. So it did just after I left Vancouver, and that was like late October. Edgewood, Midland. Yes, it definitely is a place on Earth. Oh shit! There's a. Oh, we're having a fire apparently in Seattle. It was in Colorado, in Englewood, the Denver suburb by Littleton. Wow, I almost got as many points. I got slightly more points than I was mile kilometers off in my answer there. Okay, we're in Japan. Fukushima. Fukushima Housing. Okay, 建設リフォーム不動産 Okay. Yeah, I mean this is apparently in Fukushima. Okay, that election poster is Way bloody faded. Could we be? No, the car's parked. I mean, couldn't be in the exclusion zone. Here's a video I'm working on. Since I've been sort of following North Korean coverage of the COVID thing since, well, January 2020, as in part, it started out as it was the rare example of an international news story that they were also covering when, I mean, they're not very long on international news. Mostly there isn't any. I mean, unless, like, somebody in fucking Mildura, Victoria started a society for the study of Songun politics or something like that. There isn't a whole lot of it. I mean, apart from, like, industrial news, like, they have a regular feature where it's like, here's some new resource reuse and recycling techniques used in the rest of the world that we should adopt. They have they have coverage like that, but, like, events happening in the rest of the world don't get much of a look in on their television. So it was interesting to kind of watch, for a comparative standpoint. And recently they had an outbreak and went on what they called, like, I mean, I translated as maximum infection control alert for like 92 days. And then declared sort of provisional victory on it after like I think 3 consecutive weeks with no detected new cases. And so I was kind of curious, having declared victory provisionally, were they going to just basically kind of take the approach that we've seen in some places? Ha ha ha. I wonder where I could be talking about. Um, of saying, it's over, there's no reason to worry about it. It is now your patriotic duty to fucking cough on each other and eat each other's snot. Or were they going to, take a more cautious approach? And I actually got to see some of their latest public health propaganda just a couple of days ago. And it turns out they're taking the latter approach, and it's actually kind of interesting. So I'm going to do a video which is analyzing, looking at that, translating it in part, and just sort of analyzing it and comparing it to the approach we've seen here, with just sort of declared victory and surrender kind of at the same time. Ishikawa-in. Okay, so see, the trouble with Japanese place names is that they coincide to a great extent with Japanese surnames. Oh, we got 5 people in here. I hope everybody's got enough space. So, Ishikawa, Fukushima, ここは歩道です。自転車を置かないでください。より町、より町. Okay, and I've never heard of Yori. Ueda Kiyoshi. This says, this is a footpath. Don't put your fucking bikes here. Okay, 日本に行って、よりってどこなのかちょっと見てみよう。Probably some sort of economic, and they're probably trying to. It's probably to some extent economic cooperation and seeing if they can work out some sort of arrangement, despite not entirely being in agreement on the issue of whether Russia should be in Ukraine. Again, I'm just guessing Hokkaido initially because Geoguessr loves to send you to Hokkaido. Asahikawa was some Bifka. でも違うと思うよ。茨城県、福島県. Okay, we could be in Fukushima Prefecture. 堀山、石川と寄町. I mean, that would be my guess. I haven't actually paid any attention to it. But it seems like those would be the major pending issues. Tate, kunimi, itate. Kawamata. Minami Soma. Yes. Okay. Just gonna guess it's Ishikawa. Oh, by the way, I have. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, all this talk of sanctions against China always just makes me laugh just a little bit because there's no way any sanctions against China are just going to be totally pro forma. Because to really sanction China would be sanctioning Wall Street. And that's not going to happen. 160 kilometers. I've had better rounds of Geoguessr, I'll say. That would be surprising. I mean, Uzbekistan is the favored U.S. client state of Tony Blair and former German Foreign Minister Joschka Fischer, now of VW. He's of the Green Party, so naturally he got a gig at a car company. North Lake Drive, okay, U.S. or Canada. That much we can be pretty certain about. Does that say speed limit? Yes, it said speed limit. We're in the U.S. Okay. Michigan. Unincorporated. Oh, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that the U.S. government loves more than being morally consistent. That's why they'll never commit one genocide while at the same time claiming to be humanitarianly intervening against another one. Well, except like a few times over the past, what, just 30 years? First choice properties. Commercial land. Rummage. I don't need to go someplace to rummage. I have plenty of rummaging to do around here. I will rummage when I damn well please. Which is like any time I try to find anything. Well, yeah, I mean, states aren't moral actors in general. They're little reactors for the react to the competing interests within the ruling class and amongst the different classes within society. And in the end, have their eye on whatever the primary interest of capital is. "262 area code, but also a 414 area code. I don't know either of those area codes. Waterford Town Park. So Waterford next to a Tishigan. Yeah, my immediate thought is Tishigan, Michigan, just because it sounds like it's coming from the same indigenous language. But that would just sound. That would just. I don't know. That would be too on the nose somehow, I feel. Unincorporated community of Tishigan. Oh, of course. Well, Jackson Hinkle. Yeah. I have to say, I felt seen when I heard American Johnson also calling him Hinks and Jackal. I didn't know anyone else was doing that. But I just do it because I need to be able to tell him apart from fucking Jason Hickle. Because it is really annoying that they have not worked out, like, some sort of time sharing agreement with their names. If they're going to have such similar names, one of them, I mean, the town just isn't big enough for both of them. My attention span isn't big enough for a Jason Hickle and a Jackson Hinkle. They need to merge and become Hick Jaxel, Medicine Woman, Jackson Tinkle, Waukesha County. This music is coming from. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it's not like states have some sort of function within capitalism. They're just uncontroversially good things. This music, incidentally, is from the latest. They had a concert in Pyongyang recently for the anniversary of the founding of the DPRK, and that is where a lot of their like more experimental music is. So of course I watched it. It's interesting to kind of see what sort of they do this very very cautious stylistic experimentation more in the style of the music and like costume and stuff like that than in content. I mean, the lyrics are kind of a little bit indistinguishable a lot of the time. God, where the fuck is Waukesha again? But it is kind of interesting to watch. And the music itself slaps. And there's some. Oh, there we go. Fucking hell, it's by my birthplace. Oh wow, I got 6 people at once. Hello, 6 people. Someplace. 21 kilometers. Okay, we are saved from the absurdity that would be Tishigan, Michigan. I feel like... Okay, 20,540. Even as badly as I fucked up on this one, and as little effort as I put into it, still not bad. And with that, it's time to move over to see what is in the reaction fodder silo. Okay. And there's a bunch of stuff. First I gotta adjust audio output so everyone can actually hear the bullshit I'm hearing. So we've got 9/11, we must never forget. John Rich on how wokeness killed country music. I mean, all these fucking newfangled country singers like the Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash. I mean, and all their woke shit. I mean, it's just destroying a great genre, and I'm sure they're going to tell us all about that. We've got the rest of Xander Hole's thing on Dark Brandon, in which he basically declares himself a Naslib. Yeah, well, yes, certainly has, I believe, Pinks and Jackoff has as well. Let's see. We've also got has on why Deng Xiaoping was right. PragerU Kids on the Russian Revolution. That could be fun. Xander Hall rants about YouTubers and streaming. And Caleb Maupin on A Storm is Coming. Which went up on there. Yeah, the most reactionary and the best off. Like, this whole idea that it was poor white people who put Trump in office is such bullshit. Yeah, we've known since the first polling after the election came out in 2016 that Trump voters, like Republican voters generally, are better off, significantly better off, not only than people who vote for Democrats and people who don't vote, but also significantly above the national median income. I mean, this idea that they are the essential revolutionary class or something like that is it's just complete bullshit. Okay, I got it. We're gonna do PragerU. Who cares about illegal immigration? Because we're already talking about borders and other such bullshit.
The population of Philadelphia. The population of Philadelphia is about 2 million people.
Okay, we just learned about the population of Philadelphia. Cool.
That makes it the 6th largest city in the U.S. Did you know that we are, in effect, adding a new city the size of Philadelphia to our country every year? That's how many illegal immigrants came into the United States in 2021 and will in 2022.
Yeah. Right. See, that is a number that, if I remember correctly, actually counts the same people multiple times, because you'll have people who cross into the country and are immediately kicked out and then find another way back in. Like, is he gonna cite anything for this?
I totally get why people want to come here. I'm sure I'd do the same if I were in their shoes.
Well, you mean fleeing from a horrible dictatorial regime that the U.S. imposes against the will of the public in the country, that creates massive poverty in order to enrich multinational corporations based in the U.S.? Yeah, I mean, you can see it. I mean, despite the fact that it's a disease-ridden shithole with no public services, infrastructure that's falling apart before our very eyes, and housing that is eye-wateringly expensive, and you get so little for it, and the worst real wages and hours and working conditions and benefits in the industrialized world, yeah, I can kind of see it. It's because, I mean, I imagine they would probably, if there was someplace better nearby, they would probably go there. But there isn't. Oh, I agree.
In America, They can earn more money than where they're from. In America, there's the rule of law.
Yeah, wait. In America, there's editor in chief of the Florida. What the Florida Standard? That's his new gig. He used to be just this dickhead who was on their live streams and got pissed off when there were black people in Lord of the Rings. But then he went off to bigger and better things, like being the editor in chief of the Florida Standard.
In America, there's opportunity. And in America, there are generous government benefits.
No, there fucking aren't. And also, like, first of all, the government benefits of this country suck shit. You can't live on them. They're all pretty much inaccessible. They are barely livable to begin with, and more importantly, even if you've got, legit papers, you are totally on status in the US, you aren't entitled to them, for the most part. Undocumented workers actually are paying into these systems and they get nothing back from them.
Housing subsidies, free education for their kids, free medical care. That's the illegal
Free medical care? What the fuck? Which country are we talking about? We're talking about the U.S.
immigrant side of the story, and it makes perfect sense. But what about...
I think that side of the story might also have included their countries being wrecked by the United States. Well, not only is it means tested, but there's just not that much there in the first place. I mean, look at what happens with disability benefits. A good friend of my mother's actually spent the last years of her life fighting with the Social Security Administration to get disability benefits she had coming. I mean, we're talking about fuck all. We're talking about a couple of $100 a month. She had to get a lawyer. She had to go back and forth every single time, and they would watch her like a hawk to make sure that she didn't get a penny of extra income, or they would come right back and claw it back from her and say, or they would say, "Oh, we're not going to pay you for a while because we see you had extra income," and it's like, I mean, not to mention unemployment benefits, which are just nothing. They don't even cover rent. What's okay? What? Yes. What about the side of the story of reactionary white billionaires? Why is it we never get to hear from the reactionary white billionaires? And in this regard, I just can't help but remember that Bernie Sanders claims that billionaires are the ones who want open borders, which has always fascinated me because for the most part, billionaires get whatever the fuck they want, no matter what a bad idea it is. And yet, apparently, those plucky people, those plucky white supremacists in the U.S. government have managed to hold the line against the billionaires on the open borders thing? Or something? I don't know exactly what... Lou Dobbs liked it, which, I mean, already tells you it probably is racist and doesn't make sense.
American taxpayers' side of the story. Do we...
I didn't remember who it was, but somebody said that the minute you hear somebody identifying themselves as a taxpayer, you can be pretty sure they're about to be an asshole.
get a say in this? Seems like we...
No, you don't. People have a right to fucking seek asylum and flee... and flee situations in which they can barely survive. And the fact that they show up in the country that happens to be importing a lot of their wealth and just sort of siphoning off everything that they should be able to live on, I mean, that just kind of works. That's kind of how immigration works overall. People migrate to the countries that have been robbing their countries.
We should. It's estimated that Americans spend $200 billion a year to house, feed, school, and care for illegal immigrants.
Estimated by who exactly? Does it say? No, it does not say who this is estimated by.
If you say that we're a rich country, that these people are fleeing poverty and war, and it's simply the compassionate thing to do for us to let them come here and stay here, then I would ask, where do you draw the line?
I don't see any need to draw a line, actually. Why are we drawing a line? That seems like an odd thing. I mean, after all, this is a country that is built on Europeans just invading it and saying, okay, this is ours now. And the people who are crossing that border are for the most part people who have lived in this part of the planet since well before that border existed, who have way more claim to this land than most of us do. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a need to draw the line.
If you draw the line at all. Should we let
I don't. Okay, I can help you out there. I don't.
anyone from anywhere into the country?
Yes. Yes, we should. I don't see any reason not to.
Wouldn't that be the compassionate thing to do?
Yes. I mean, okay, you're making a lot of sense here. Let's do it. Let's no fucking borders. Get rid of ice. I mean, you can just sort of like literally melt them, see what happens. Um, get rid of CBP, which gets way nowhere near the bad press that they deserve because they are much less visible in their atrocities. Yeah, just get rid of them. Get rid of all the border bullshit. Let people come in. Let people come in if they feel the need to come in.
The people who come across our southern border are overwhelmingly poor with very limited education.
Um, yeah, that's kind of those things kind of go together. Poverty and lack of access to education. It's not exactly unusual. I mean, this is a semi-literate population as well. It just happens to be a population that is pretty fucking broke.
This
Oh well, yeah. Obviously, you got to get rid of the CIA too. I mean, you got to do that anyway.
isn't a judgment, it's a
Well, it sounds like a fucking judgment.
fact. Doesn't it seem likely that these illegal immigrants would work for almost any wage to make money?
Oh well, I mean, yeah. It's sort of like workers do pretty much anywhere. They work for whatever's going because in capitalism, you see, you need money. Now, I mean, that's why I see where he's going. He's saying we really, if we want to do this, we need to get rid of capitalism so that workers do not need to sell their labor power to capitalists in order to survive. And then everything's cool.
Wouldn't that drive down wages for low-skilled American citizens?
Wait, so, but first of all, fuck low skill, that's bullshit. Second of all, we're not that isn't what drives down wages. Fucking migrant workers are not inherently cheaper. That's what you have to believe in order to believe that migration drives down wages. Migrant workers are cheaper because it is legal. In fact, in the US, since the Clinton administration, employers have been able to coordinate immigration raids. Yeah, so that when their undocumented workforce starts saying sindicato, and talking about how shitty their wages are and saying they want to at least make minimum wage and maybe get some time off once in a while. Um, the employer can just say, call ICE, I mean INS at the time, no questions asked, and say, I think maybe I've got some undocumented people here. You should do something about that, and then they raid them. I mean, it would be quite easy. These people don't want to work for less. If you gave them more money, they're not going to fucking turn it down. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, it's not that they see. We have to keep in mind that they're not necessarily getting high on their own supply. Just because they say it doesn't mean they believe it.
Of every race and ethnicity with whom they would be competing for jobs?
Well, I mean, this is why workers clearly need to stop competing for jobs and start organizing. But, I mean, just to this point, even without having communism, which obviously we need to do, we need to have communism. I mean, that would solve a whole lot of problems we're dealing with right now. Including the existence of PragerU, because who the fuck would waste their time working for people like that if they didn't need the money and had, basically better things to do in their lives? But, I mean, we could actually give the Department of Labor an enforcement budget again and have them send inspectors out to make sure everybody's getting minimum wage and OSHA rules are being followed and that everybody's union rights are being enforced, and then then the problem's gone.
What happens to those citizens, including legal immigrants, if they get priced out of the job market altogether?
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're saying that employers will pay as little as they possibly can, even if they know it's totally not survivable. Well, obviously, we need to just completely make sure that employers are harshly punished if they're screwing workers out of the wages they're owed. And clearly, all of these undocumented workers you're talking about, they've got huge amounts of money coming to them, plus interest, just for the wage theft that they're suffering. Thank you for bringing it to us our attention, Will Witt. Obviously, that's what he's talking about here.
Is anybody thinking about them?
Yes, I am. You're not.
Violent crime is increasing across the country at an alarming rate.
This in a totally unrelated fact that they're just gonna throw in there.
Under these circumstances, does it make sense to allow 2 million people?
Oh, you see what he did there? Under these circumstances. See, he didn't actually. He can say, because of the way he did this, that he did not actually say that undocumented workers are criminals. But he is very clearly. Oh, good to hear the rail workers are striking. Good on them. I mean, anyone who is in, like, doing logistics and supply chain work could easily just bring the shit down if they took a notion to it.
A year into the country about whom we know nothing? We don't know if they have a criminal record, if
I don't give a shit if they have a criminal record.
they're carrying a disease, or
Oh, what? PragerU cares about diseases all of a sudden? I mean, you got Dennis Prager who goes out there like making fun of people wearing masks. Like, hey, it's your patriotic duty to eat each other's snot. What COVID schmovid? Who gives a shit? Yeah, okay, you get dementia, but as an actual person who actually exists and who I interacted with recently said, it's often just mild dementia. Is that really that bad? Since when do they give a shit if anyone's carrying disease? If they're carrying a disease, we'll give them health care. We should have a healthcare system. Then, if they're carrying a disease, they can get seen
or
to.
anything else about them. We often hear the phrase, "We are a nation of immigrants."
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know anything about most of the people who are living here. It's never actually bothered me. I don't feel a need to know everything about everybody living here. For the most part, as long as they're not fucking with me, as long as they're not doing anything, as long as they're not doing anything that is problematic, I really don't need to know everything about them. Yes, white and scared is their target market.
But until relatively recently, the only way immigrants could enter the country was legally.
That's until recently. That's bullshit. I mean, until recently, like in the last 100 years, any way that you could enter the country was considered a legal entry. Legal, fucking immigration restrictions in the U.S. are a late 19th century invention. Before that, you could just come. There was no there were no legal restrictions. You didn't have to do any paperwork. You look at like fucking Ellis Island files, and people were just coming in on no papers at all, and that was fine. This idea, there was never a time when there was no way to enter this country without the proper fucking paperwork. And the other thing that's bullshit about this, they always talk about illegal immigrants as if that means that they necessarily entered the country illegally. This is something I should have pointed out when they were talking about that 200,000 a year number. Here's the thing. There is no legal concept of an illegal immigrant in U.S. law. There's on status and off status, and people lose their legal status all the time without even knowing it. Most of the people who are in that 200,000 figure that he quoted are people who came in legally, and for one reason or another, their status changed, and they were no longer legally in the country. They were already there, and it is so easy to have your status fucked up because the entire immigration law system in this country is an absolute maze. Immigration intake interviews for immigration lawyers are some of the longest and most detailed and ridiculous interviews, of any like new client interview you can give, because there's so many fucking random, irrelevant circumstances that can decide everything.
Maybe you remember the scene in the classic movie Godfather 2, when young Vito Corleone comes to America from Italy. When he arrives, he has to go through Ellis Island.
Yeah, and if he were doing that now, he would not have made it through. Because if it were now, he would have had to get. I mean, even as an Italian citizen, and you as an Italian citizen, you're already getting about the best deal the U.S. gives to any immigrants, which is actually not very good. The U.S. has some of the most restrictive immigration laws on the planet. I mean, so he would have had to apply for a green card. Then he would have had to wait, on average, 15 to 20 years to get an answer on it. And the answer would probably have been no unless he could show a significant amount of money and a job before getting in. Or he could try to win the diversity lottery. I mean, the idea that this was a complicated thing. First of all, you think people come from Mexico were coming in through Ellis Island? Like, do you not understand how geography works? If you're in fucking Nuevo Laredo, you don't take a boat up to fucking New Jersey in order to get into the U.S. You just take a little walk. It's right there. And for most of the history of this country, it was relatively easy to do that. It's only recently that they put up a wall. Like I mean, it started. I think I'm not sure it was late '90s, early 2000s that they started, and these walls go right through communities because a lot of these cities. I mean, if you look at the map of the U.S. Mexico border, you see tons of places where it's basically one city, except the border runs right through the middle of it. The border is not as old as those communities. So you're basically. I mean, this is just such complete bullshit on so many levels. You could write a book about it.
He has smallpox, so he's quarantined for 3 months. That was over
Wow,
over
yeah.
100 years ago.
So the idea is that you mean we shouldn't be spreading fucking deadly diseases?
Do we do anything like that now?
Well, you oppose doing that shit.
And what are we going to do with these millions of illegal immigrants once they have been here, say, 5 years or 10 years or longer?
Why do we need to do anything with them? I mean, if they've been here 5 years or 10 years or longer, they're probably doing okay. I mean, let's just make sure they're okay and give them, getting the support they need. They're not getting screwed over by their bosses and their landlords and shit. I mean, other than that, I mean, why do we need to do anything about them? They're just human beings living in a place like all of us.
Forcibly deport them? We all know that's never going to happen.
That happens every fucking day. In fact, ever since the illegal immigrant responsibility and illegal immigration reform act of 1996 got passed, it has become common for people who've been living 20, 30 years to be deported overnight over some fucking like low-level felony beef that they had decades ago. Based on this completely vague, undefined term, aggravated felony that allows ICE to just deport people who have any criminal record at all.
Make them citizens?
Yeah, why not?
After they broke our laws to get into the country?
Who gives a shit? I mean, they're not my laws, first of all.
We know the drug cartels control the border on the Mexican side.
Well, they control it on the U.S. side, too. That's what CBP does.
We know that you can't cross into America without paying them a sizable bribe.
Yeah. So what you're saying is maybe we should look into why CBP is allowing that to happen, even though supposedly anti-trafficking, anti-narco trafficking is part of their fucking remit. Yeah, why? It's a good question. Why is it that the coke always makes it across, no matter what happens to the refugees?
We know that
Good
this
question.
bribe money adds up to millions, maybe billions of dollars. Doesn't this mean that we are helping to make the cartels richer and more powerful?
You mean kind of like the U.S. has been doing more or less all along? Like when the Cali cartel and the fucking cartels in Central America got together in order to help the U.S. create a huge death squad in Nicaragua to get rid of the elected government there. I mean, the U.S. has been on the side of the coke cartels basically as long as they've been around.
What do you think the cartels do with this money?
Well, I mean, obviously they fund fucking They do all sorts of wonderful things. You know, they buy candy for children. They buy fucking blow. They're buying your. They're making your blow. They're paying the people who grow your blow. Will.
Give it to the Red Cross, or use it to further corrupt Mexico's police and government officials. Not
Is
to
that possible?
mention buy weapons or anything else they want. We also know that the cartels use migrants to smuggle in drugs like fentanyl that are
Well, yes, and you know why they're able to do that? It's because migrants are basically forced, since the border is militarized and it is extremely dangerous to just kind of go it on your own, to rely on coyotes. And those fucking coyotes are often working for the cartels. So, yeah, I mean, they are extorted into it. So, obviously, the thing to do is open up the border and offer safe passage for free for everybody who wants it. Then
are
you put this out of business.
telling our young people that these same cartels engage in human trafficking, especially of young women. Aren't we encouraging this criminal activity by allowing illegal immigration to proceed virtually unchecked?
What do you mean virtually unchecked? It isn't virtually unchecked. It is heavily checked. Thousands of people die on the border because of how fucking checked it is. The border is a fucking mass grave because of how checked it is. Shut the fuck up, Will.
If you add a new Philadelphia worth of illegal immigrants to our population
We're still gonna use this bullshit number because that's just. See, anytime somebody goes off status, which can happen without them even realizing it, they fall under that statistic. Such a bullshit number. It isn't. That isn't the fucking growth in population.
every year, is it reasonable to suggest that this will alter the character of the nation?
Why? Why would I even give a shit? The character of the nation sucks shit. The I don't really see how changing its character is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, and it's interesting how they've managed to avoid actually talking about any adverse effect that these people could possibly have on people that is observable in people's everyday lives. Because it is hard. You can't lie to people about stuff that they see every day. It doesn't work. And so good propagandists, and these people are, well, they're mediocre propagandists, but they seem to have gotten this one right, will always try to lie about things that are at something of a remove from the lives of their target marks.
These are people, after all, who are raised in a different culture with different traditions and values than ours.
Yeah, and the result is, I mean, we end up getting really, really fucking good food. I mean, what? Okay, so they're from different culture and they have different values. I'm not really actually all that impressed with the values of this culture. Well, who gives a shit? Have them come in.
We will either change them or they will change us. Which do you think is more likely to happen?
Um, they what? From that false dichotomy, I don't think either of them is. I think it's actually a reciprocal process.
One reason countries have borders and immigration policies
It is to keep workers hostage to the local capitalist class. Yes, thank you, Will. We all know that.
is to preserve their national culture. A country without borders
Wow, he sounded like fucking Caleb Maupin.
is not a country.
Yeah, countries suck. Let's get rid of all the borders.
So isn't it just common sense to want to protect our borders? Why do people say walls don't work?
Cause they tend not to. And if you so you're and in this case it's just kind of a stupid idea because a lot of the border in this case is water.
Countries all over the world, in Europe, in the Middle East,
In Europe, they don't have. Okay, the last time that Europe had a major wall for a border was 1989, and I seem to remember. I thought there's a video on PragerU celebrating when that particular wall came down. I mean, internal European borders are basically non-existent.
have border walls. They work.
Name one. Which country has? I mean, which country has a border wall that you're talking about? I mean, they don't have one in Europe. I mean, they got rid of it. They did. They got rid of it. It was in Berlin. I've seen bits of it.
Why should our border wall be any different?
You mean in the sense that it should come down?
If we're willing to send $40 billion to a country in Eastern Europe to defend its borders, Why are we unwilling to spend half of that to defend our own border by building an effective border wall?
Okay, so now it's not just a border wall, but an effective border wall. Right through people's fucking neighborhoods, incidentally, once again.
We have a border, but we don't guard it. And
yes, we fucking do. That's what CBP's for, and they do it in a way that gets a huge number of people killed. Well, yeah, but that's not in Europe, except for the purposes of Eurovision, which also counts fucking Australia. And Israel's wall is notoriously not actually on the boundary. It is entirely on the Palestinian side, nearly entirely on the Palestinian side of the Green Line.
we have immigration laws, but we don't enforce them.
Yeah, we fucking do. Huge numbers of people get deported every year on those. People's lives are ruined by immigration laws every day. The concentration camps are full.
For all practical purposes, our borders are open.
No, they're fucking not. Okay, come on, Will. You want to tell us how open the borders are? Go down to fucking Nuevo Laredo, to Tijuana, to any fucking border town on the Mexican side, and show us how fast you can get across. Speed run the border. If they're practically open, then just do it. Go on, like I would film it. You make videos, and they suck. But this one would be kind of neat because, well, it would be a snuff video basically.
How many more cities the size of Philadelphia are you willing to admit before you say,
that even one Philadelphia is too many?
enough?
Oh.
Just asking. I'm Will Witt for Prager University.
Oh, well, yes, he is indeed Will Witt for Prager University, and... Wow, there was so much bullshit in that. That was a 5-minute video, and it's been like a half an hour. That's 2 hours, and I'm guessing that was through the official channels where you go through the... I forget what it is, the Santa Ynez, or Complex, or whatever it's called, with the International Bridge and shit. Or... Yes, he is. He used to have a better haircut and come on, he used to live stream, this horrible live stream they do on PragerU. But okay, we've only got 10 minutes left before this stream ends for the night, though I may be switching over to my language stream. And incidentally, there's a new Twitter account if you want to follow for just my language related content. I'm gonna just drop that in the chat. And you can follow that, and it's all my language stuff. Okay. Maybe let's just look at how wokeness killed country music.
There's no Johnny Cash's or Waylon Jennings or...
Wait, okay. You're saying wokeness killed Johnny Cash? Like, that he died of being so woke?
Or those kind of people, or Loretta Lynn's?
Well, yeah, because the only fucking country music that will actually get made, that the fucking radio stations will even pick up is this horrible right-wing shit. What are you talking about? Johnny Cash is actually an example of woke country music.
Well, there's a good reason for that, because none of those people would have been allowed to exist today.
Well, yeah, because it's all fucking, what is that, Toby Keith and all those motherfuckers who, it's like white supremacism, truck brand name checking, and flagrant U.S. nationalism.
My name is John Rich, and this is my story.
See, you can tell he's authentically an expert on country music because he pronounces ma. And he's got that fucking hat.
So I grew up in a town called Amarillo, Texas. So if you look at the state of Texas, go to the very top where it squares off like this. That's called the Panhandle of Texas.
Okay, and that's gone because of wokeness, right?
Were it not for Interstate 40 rolling through Amarillo, there would probably be no town there. It would just be more cows and more wheat fields. A lot of tough people out there
Wow, so there are a lot of tough people out there. See, this is him demonstrating his cred.
Cowboys, oil workers, a lot of agriculture. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. So I have 2 younger sisters and then a baby brother. My dad was doing everything from
What the hell is this Okay, this is cool. I don't care about any of this. I mean, what's this got to do with wokeness killing country
he was a
music?
night watchman at Amarillo National Bank. He was slopping hogs for the neighbor's hog farm next door, giving guitar lessons, selling used cars, mowing people's grass, detailing people's cars, literally anything he could think of to make sure we didn't go without, and we didn't go without.
Okay. Who's Jack White, incidentally?
My dad is a preacher. My dad started preaching when he was about 19 years old.
They really ought to have had a look at this lighting before releasing this, because his hat looks invisible.
And he never preached in the big churches, so there was never any salary really attached to anything he was doing. My dad's more of a prison preacher. I never remember my dad without a guitar hanging around his neck.
Okay. Why do I care about any of it?
So he preached in little churches, or he'd preach in prisons, or he would preach in the streets,
And wokeness killed him.
wherever he was at. And one of his big assets was he could pull a guitar out and start singing, because they might not want to hear him preach, but they wouldn't mind listening to him sing for a minute, and he knew that. So man, he would sing and wear it out.
Okay, and the idea is, what are you saying, that there's no fucking fundamentalist Christian country music out there? Because I've been on the AM radio dial, and I think that's a fucking lie.
One of his extra jobs was to give guitar.
God, see, I can't be exposed to an accent without my brain starting to shift over and absorb it. And I'm already feeling that happening with this guy's accent.
Lessons there in Amarillo, Texas. When I was about 5 or 6, my dad goes, "You want to go with me to guitar lessons?" I'm like, "Sure, Dad." I mean, what kid doesn't want to tag along? I said, "Sure, Dad." So I go down there, and he's got this semicircle of probably 20 adults sitting there with their guitars. I sit
God, yeah, fucking PragerU's editing team are so racist they don't even like black hats.
down next to my dad, kind of behind him. He hands me this little tiny guitar. He goes, "Just try to follow along," and then he starts teaching. Well, I sat behind him, and I'm just doing what he's teaching them to do. And within about 2 or 3 months, I was out playing all of his students. My dad goes, "You're picking that up pretty quick."
I mean, I don't know. It might be entirely true. I've never heard of this guy. It's nothing to do with wokeness supposedly killing country music.
He goes, Let's work on it a little bit more." And next thing you know, I'm playing pretty much everything my dad can play. Never dawned on me people make money playing music. Amarillo, Texas, come on, you better be able to herd cows, run a combine, something to have your career, not music. So being around that early on, it was a real binder between me and my dad, something we could do together, play music together, watch him do it in church, watch my dad write a song, spend a whole week, and
He and
hear
his
him
dad
in his
shared
back bedroom
binders.
working on this
That's
song
kinda
and
based.
writing lyrics down. And then he would sing it to people on Sunday morning, and I said, I saw him write that, and then watch people respond to the song. I was like,
And I'm not gonna lie, as somebody who occasionally writes songs and has very rarely gotten a chance to actually sing some of them in front of people, that's a pretty cool fucking feeling. But I'm still wondering what any of this has to do with wokeness killing country music.
that's like magic. How did he do that? He just took blank paper, and now people are singing the words back. It was very inspiring. I look at where I'm at today as a songwriter, and I think back of how I was struck by that my dad was able to write something, perform it, create something out of nothing, and see impact happen. My dad.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is the music of the arrival of wokeness. Well, yeah, there is that too.
My whole family, his parents, all the grandparents and uncles, it was instilled in us at a really early age that, hey, you live in America. And some of the old men said, yeah, and we were in World War II. Or he was he was here and he was there. And you learn those stories. They go, it does.
Yeah, okay, so I get it. So, yeah, and those grandparents, who were in World War II, he hasn't said what side they're on, but I'm assuming, since this is about wokeness killing country music, that they were not on the side of the Axis, and these grandparents fucked up country music for him.
Doesn't matter where you start off, son. You can wind up no telling where. You just got to think big and work hard. You got to out.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., I mean, if you just work hard and think big and follow the rules, you have no idea whether you're gonna end up working in a McDonald's, a Burger King. You might even make it to a Hardee's. And if you go for your degree, I mean, a gig at Starbucks is practically guaranteed these days.
Work everybody. And, that hustle
Amazon
will beat
warehouse.
talent. There's a misconception in the world that the most talented people are the ones that always win. That is not true. If the most talented singers were the ones on country radio, if that's the only ones that ever made it, you'd have a completely different group of people singing on the radio.
Oh, well, no argument here. I mean, in general, if they only had, like, people who are good at music on the radio.
The people on the radio that have become big stars.
Let's see, John Rich. Let me just wiki him. And no, he was in fact born in Amarillo. I guess he must have probably. Then what is it? What's the difference between born and origin? Is it Dixon, Tennessee, where he was fucking conceived? I didn't need to know that.
And that you hear are the ones that have talent, of course, but they are the ones that were willing to stick with it, figure it out,
and knew the right people. I mean, so much in any kind of media is down to knowing the right people. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have at least some idea what the hell you're doing some of the time. Though, if you want to be like a commentator or some kind of like analyst on a major like cable news station, you don't need to know shit. You can be completely ignorant and it'll be cool, as long as you manage to follow the official line for the most part. But yeah, really fundamentally, it's down to who you know. If you know somebody who can get you get your material in front of a large audience that's likely to like it, that's likely to actually like it and want to hear more of it, and talks you up to that audience, then chances are you're going to be doing a lot better than somebody who doesn't know anyone like that. And with that, it is, well, yes, I mean, blowing the right people can also help, or getting blow to the right people. That works too. Different kinds of blow for different kinds of fellows or something. That didn't work as well as I thought it would. But it is time to wrap up tonight. And I may be moving over to hyperpolyglotting a little bit later, maybe about a half an hour or so. But thank you all for joining. This has been the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. We'll be back on at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time tomorrow again, as we continue our Geoguessr and our look at the reactionary miasma that we're surrounded by, and occasionally have inspiring efforts to overcome. So, have a good night, and also, if you check out my YouTube channel, I've got a music video up. Here, let me put the link, I'm going to drop the link in chat right now. For anyone who's looking for something to listen to tonight, here you go. Nazbol Ghouls. Have a good night, and perhaps I'll see you in a little bit over on Hyperpolyglotting.